This video is about the new Ortur Aufero CNC 3018 that I just received from GearBest. Now, I think this is one of the first ones that's been shipped to the USA. So here I am. I received it. Now, I have a lot of viewers that actually, say they'd like to get into CNC, but it costs too much. So that's why I really wanted to try one of these out just to see how they are. And, I was lucky to be able to get on the list with GearBest and get one of the first ones. So this is how it came packed. It was shipped from Hong Kong, the package, and you can see everything is really well packaged. There was really no damage or anything. It is quite a heavy box. So, the shipping is fairly expensive on these, but, everything's really well packaged and looks to be well made. And those are a couple of steel plates that they put in there, side plates. Now, when you look at this, I've got some questions into Ortur, but when you look at this, some of the things that they show on the advertisement for GearBest are missing. Like, there is no... This one that I got does not have a emergency stop button, and it also does not have a bracket for the that little screen that goes with it. It is a 32-bit controller, so it's it's really better made than most of them out there. And there's a little 3.5 touch screen that goes with it. Got some nice steppers and stuff, and this one also has a Z-axis. There it is, all assembled with a heavy-duty 997 spindle. That's a 10,000 RPM little spindle. And you see all the bags of hardware and stuff like that. And some of the ball bushings there that go with it. So right here, this is just, I figured I'd, I haven't seen any videos about it before, so I just show you the unpacking and putting it together to start out with. And then we'll go into making some cuts with it and my opinion of it. But everything really is, it looks to be well made and packaged well. So, there's really not much chance of damage. And most of the other 3018 machines out there use like 8mm rods for the travel. And this one actually uses 12mm with ball bushings on everything, so it is heavier duty than most of them. And you can see that's really a nice assembly. And I couldn't believe it came with the ER11 collet on the spindle motor also. So that's really a great feature to have. That would have cost a lot to upgrade. So there it is, all spread out on the bench, just to give you an idea. It does come as a kit form. And by the time I got done assembling it and firing it up, it did take me just about an hour or so. I'd plan on leaving that much time if you plan on getting one. They give you 2 bits to get started in an 1/8" ER11 collet. And there are some files on a little SD card there for it too. I'm a little confused about them, so I'm waiting for some info back from Ortur. But that's, this is basically it. It uses the T8 lead screws and 12mm. These are all ball bushings that it uses. So it's, it's really nicely made. And those are little spring-loaded zero backlash nuts that they give you with it. And they do give you some instructions. And first thing I did is I spread out all the hardware, counted it up to make sure I had the correct quantity. And everything was perfect, and it's easy to put together from here on because you don't have to dig through hardware. And there's a couple of aluminum brackets that go underneath the table that you have to put ball bushings on to start out with. And this is just putting the bushings in there. The assembly instructions are really very good. Where Ortur usually falls short is with the usage instructions. But, this is, it's fairly easy to use. I'll show you the best way to get started in a second. So those 2 brackets go underneath, and they hold up the table. And same thing for the other one. Now there's a shorter lead screw for that travel, and you have to squeeze together that little spring in the middle, and make sure it threads on there to get the zero backlash feature to work right. But that that goes together easy, and nice fit. These are supposedly a really precision screw that they make too, a little higher quality than the normal ones. And then that just mounts on the one bracket like that. Everything lined up perfectly. No problem with any of the screw holes or anything. The hardware was all correct size and stuff. So, they did a really good job at putting this package together. And as I said before, you'll see in a second, this really doesn't look like the pictures that they have on GearBest website for advertising. All these brackets are different. They show other different ways of mounting things and stuff if you study them. But, this is actually what they ship to me now. So I'm thinking that this is what it's going to be. So that just, you can see those shafts slide in. Everything slides nicely, and it fits good, and then it's time to start putting the frame together. It has two little NEMA 17 stepping motors on it for driving it, and like I said before, it's got a 32-bit motherboard on it for the JRBL to run it. So it is most of them only have an 8-bit, so this one really is a step ahead of the others. And everything just slides together and fits good if you look at the instructions, assembly instruction pictures. I may not be following the exact way that they say to do it, but I'm just doing it what works best for me. So now I'm just loosely assembling the screws for holding the shafts front and back. I'm not going to really tighten anything down until I get this whole base assembly together. Now, for the advertising on the website, they actually show it as being two assembled parts, which you can see it is not. Then there's a coupling that goes on the motor, and you want to just kind of divide that in half, make sure you get it on the motor and stuff. And I did have some problems with this coupling. The screw for the motor actually tightened nice and easy and worked good. But when I went to put the lead screw in, no matter how tight I tried to get that with a little wrench, I couldn't get it tight. It just slipped. The hole in it seemed to be a little big for the screw. And then I got out. I tore the end off the wrench that they gave me for assembling it, and then I had to get out a good Allen key and you can see how much force it's actually taken till that won't slide anymore. So you really have to get a good Allen key that fits that and crank it down as hard as you possibly can. And it does actually throw the two center lines off center a little bit when it's running, but it didn't really seem to affect it that much. But you want to make sure that you get like a high quality wrench, because the one that comes with it strips right off. And then I'm going to just throw the side pieces in there. And everything lines up. You want to make sure that the 4 holes on the side are towards the back side where the motor is, just so that you don't have to move them around later, because that's where the vertical uprights mount to. And again, it's it's really easy to put together. And I did find that using these, I've got these Bondus drivers here that I bought a set of. I do find they're a lot easier for putting stuff together than the little hex wrenches that come with it. So then it's just a matter of putting the other side on there. And I tightened everything up and went back and I checked it with a square, and it turned out this was really right on. It was perfectly square all the way around. So, they did do a good job of machining everything. And the last thing to put on that base there is the little knob in the front that allows you to just do some fine adjusting of the axis. So that's the bottom half put together. Now, on the CNC things where there's dust and stuff like that, I like to use a product called Garage Door Screw Lube. And all it is a lube that doesn't attract dust. It actually dries solid and doesn't attract dust, and it works pretty good on this kind of stuff. So if you want it to be lubricated, not attract dust, that works good. So there's the whole, that whole bottom is assembled. Now it's time to put the table on. And they give you some M6 screws and some T-nuts that come up. And I'm just going to start them loosely on the brackets here, and then just slide this in place and start to tighten them up. And you want to make sure that this is centered side to side before you do the final tightening. But you can see it's a nice little aluminum base that you can clamp to or mount to. Everything seems really high quality and fits well, so I'm real happy with that. So it's easiest to just turn it upside down and start tightening things, and then go back and center it before you fully tighten them. Now, the one thing that I'm going to say about this machine is, for some reason, when it runs, I'll show you in a second, I am getting some ringing in that aluminum extrusion there. I'm not quite sure what it's from. It seems like it's a stepper motor vibrations being transmitted to those aluminum brackets there. But, it makes a little bit of noise, but does not affect the accuracy or anything. And I'm trying to get a hold of Ortur to see if it's something that maybe like a firmware would update or something. There it is. Everything's nice and tight. Squared up and moves smoothly. No binding or anything. And then I'm going to start on the side brackets. And another one of those couplings goes on the motor. And this is another one that has to really be super tight to grab on the T8 nut. Now these side plates are steel, and for some reason mine have some extra holes poked in them, and I'm not sure what they're for, but this is like one of the prototype units that I got, I think. So it could be something else that they had plans on changing or something, but I'm not sure. I don't think that the other ones come with these holes in them, but I'm not sure. I'll find out. So these side plates are actually made out of steel. They didn't go with aluminum on here, and they're quite heavy, so they do add some to the weight of the machine. And then there's some vertical uprights here. This is not one piece of machined aluminum. This is just several, pieces that go together. There's 2 screws that hold that one front section on, and then the back section gets held by the screws that hold everything together. So I'm just starting everything kind of loosely here, and you can see, it does go together nice. And then you just have to line up the holes in the bottom, and they screw right into the side of the extrusion there. There are four socket head cap screws, and all high quality hardware. It looks like it's stainless steel and really well made, so I'm impressed with that too. So I got all the screws. I'm not really tightening up till I get done, and then there's a top cap that caps off the top of those extrusions and gives it a little bit more stiffness. And it is a very rigid machine once you get it together. And again, I'm kind of just leaving everything just snugged up until I do get to the final tightening and squaring. And then I'm just going to set the little cross pieces in place there, and the hardware there, and they just screw right through the steel bracket and the aluminum extrusion. The holes all lined up perfectly and stuff, so it really is fun putting something like this together. And then there's another lead screw for the Y there, and it's another one of those zero backlash ones that you just kind of have to get the two keys together there, squeeze the spring to preload it, and just screw it in. And the screws are actually really extremely well made and well machined and stuff, and very smooth movement. And then that Z assembly comes pre-assembled, and I'm just putting this in now. You can do it different ways. This is how I decided to do it. It was easiest. And there are a couple 4 screws that go in and capture that brass nut. And then the two 12mm shafts fit. Really nice fit on them, and everything fits together perfect. And it's quite a heavy assembly with that motor and the blocks and stuff. It's really nice and rigid for one of these little machines. I was really surprised by it. How nice it is. And then again, I'm just starting the M6 screws loosely to hold this in place. And again, this may not be the best way to put it together, but it's the way I chose. And again, I just put everything together loosely till I make sure everything slides perfectly, and then do the final tightening. So that side's on, and then the other side with the lead screw support goes on, and you have to put that little bearing on there. And just a couple little socket head cap screws to hold that in place. And as I said before, I don't know what those extra holes in the side of these two plates are for, but for some reason they're there, and I may just make something, a tool holder or something that fits in them, I'm thinking, if they're not used for anything else. And it's pretty much the same as the other side. You've got the two vertical pieces, and they line up with the holes in that plate, and some long screws go through, and the lead screw actually gets captured in there, and then same kind of sequence as the other side. You can see pretty much it. It's starting to look like a little machine, and I think it is close to 25 pounds too, so it is a fairly heavyweight machine. Now this did turn into quite a long video about this machine, but I figured anybody interested in buying one of these might really want to see the whole thing, and actually getting up to how it works also. And one thing I can say is I'm a little disappointed that Ortur has never set up forums for these machines that they're selling, like even the Laser Masters that I have, because it's so hard to find software and stuff like that if you're not on Facebook. So I'm hoping that someday in the future they spend some time on putting together a good forum for each of these machines, so you can go get some help and find out what other people are doing with them, and find out what the latest firmware version is and how to load it and stuff like that. So I'm really, you know, hoping that happens in the future. But here we are, just starting to snug down everything now, and going to go through and check that all the movements are moving right and stuff. And I just you want to make sure that those back pieces are square with that back plate there. So I just use the flat piece of the square there to line them up when I tighten them. And everything, you know, when I got done, everything did pull together extremely square and stuff. So, and again, here's where that other coupling is. And make sure that you don't rely on the Ortur wrench. Get a good wrench that fits this, because you really have to crank this down until you feel like it's going to break. So there's definitely, I've never had to do this with one of these T8 lead screws before, so. And then the same thing, there's a little finger knob that goes on the other side. And then there's a couple of little set screws on the inside of that T8 to tighten up, to keep that from moving in the bearing. And I did wind up moving it from side to side, and, you know, checking everything was smooth, really, you know, moved smoothly and stuff like that. And then the last thing, I went back and I you know, there's a little bit of slop in these screws, so just make sure that you square up the vertical pieces on both sides there when you tighten those bottom screws fully. And that's pretty much it for the mechanical assembly. You can see it's you know, it does take a little bit of time to do, but it's fun to kind of see how these things go together and how they work, I think. Now the controller board is a 32-bit controller board they supply, and you can see it's in a nice little package there. They give you a couple screws and some of those slide-in T-nuts to captured in that back track, and the power switch is right there on the top of it, so that's a nice feature. And that just mounts on the back there, and I did not see any areas where you could later connect an emergency off switch to or anything like that. So I'm guessing that that's you know, not going to be part of this anymore, but I will find out for sure. And I've got a couple update videos I'll be doing also once I figure out what apps to use and the whole wireless end of it. So for now, I'm just basically going to be running it off the USB. You'll see in a little while. And the connectors all plugged in nice. Everything, you know, fit perfect there. Super easy to do. They've got little keys on them, so you can't plug them in backwards. And then the little Z motor gets the connector up there. And then those two, the red and the black, you have to make sure you connect the red to the positive and the black to the negative on the spindle. And then the power, or this here is the little controller that plugs in. Now, like I said, it does not come with a bracket as they show, but I'll be 3D printing one. And it is just a little 3D printed box they put the touch screen in. It's a nice feature. I've never, you know, really seen one included with one of these little machines that didn't cost a lot extra. And then a nice power supply, about 5 amp, 24 volt supply. And there's a USB on the side of that, and also a little card slot. So now the cord's not that long that comes with it, and you can pretty much see you can actually run the machine, run files from this. I did not do it because I don't have the full instructions on it, but I'm waiting to hear back about that. But you can go in, and there's also jog modes where you can jog the machine and move it around and stuff. So, you know, it's kind of like a little CNC pendant here. once you do hook up the USB cable to the computer, it becomes a little bit it just doesn't always work. But I did notice when I started running it that there was an awful lot of vibration from those stepper motors being transferred right down to the bench top and, making it sound pretty loud. And also on the X movement, I did get, it's like a ringing in that aluminum plate that you get. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I'm going to try to figure that out eventually. Otherwise, this thing would be perfectly quiet. So it does, it is going to be a nice machine once I get the couple of bugs worked out. And then there's a spindle control. The medium and high speeds work. Spindle runs very smooth. And I couldn't get the low speed to work on it, but, like I said, this was just my first playing around with it and stuff, so really I'm hoping to find some better instructions on setting everything up and using it. Also, I'll definitely be mounting a little, actually 3D printing a little bracket to mount it on the side of the machine there, like they show on their advertising picture. But this, this does give you a full offline machine once you get your, figure out how to get the G code for it, and just put it on a card, load it in, and run it. And it also is Wi-Fi too. This will connect to wireless. I did get it connected to my network, but that's as far as I went. I didn't play with that anymore. I figure that's going to be another video because I still need a little more information about using it, and this is really getting too long as it is. And you can see there's a whole thing of tools there and different setups and reset stuff. So, hopefully there is some paperwork that I can learn a little more about how to use this saw before I try to show you. And you can go back to 0 and stuff. At first I thought it was moving the wrong way, the x-axis, but then I realized that it's not. It's the table's moving, not the motor. But like I said, I am getting some ringing noise in it, and when you move by hand, you don't get that, and you do get, quite a bit of it in that plate. So I got some rubber isolation blocks here to try. And this really, it doesn't come with anything on the bottom there, so you really should plan on getting some kind of rubber feet for it, because that did help quiet it down quite a bit. But, in reality, it would be nice if that cable was a little bit longer there. But it's still, you can hear it still has a ringing in there. And it's it's actually coming from that aluminum table from what I can tell. So I'll be looking into that. Because otherwise this thing would be really nice and silent. The steppers seem to run pretty silent, but the vibrations seem to be getting transferred through the lead screw into that aluminum bracket on the bottom there where the lead screw mounts to, and everything. There's no noises till you put the power to it. So it's, I think it'll be something simple to work out, but that's about the only thing that I could find that is a little bit annoying, but it's something that hopefully will be fixable easily. And everything moves really nice, and lead screws are really nice and smooth. You can see those couplings do wobble off center. I guess they have to be so tightened, and it pulls the thing a little bit off center, but the screws still work okay. So now I had to find an old USB cable, and I got out my notebook, and actually I tried their candle software that they give you with it, and that's nice, but it doesn't have a way to create the G code or the files or anything. And kind of going to be hard for a beginner to get going with that. So I went online and I signed up for a free account at Inventables for this program called Easel that actually lets you draw your parts and creates the G code and controls the machine, which I feel is really the best way to get going with this if you have no experience in creating code or anything. This creates all the code and takes care of it for you. And then I'm going to load in, it's really nice having this ER11 collet on here, and this spindle does run smooth. So I'm going to load in one of the bits that they give you with it. And try to do my first cut with it. So you can see it's nice they give you the bit and the collet to get going. And then on the table, I'm not going to try to screw it down now because I don't know what's going to happen, and I'd rather have double-sided tape there so I don't damage anything. And there's an industrial double-sided tape that I use on my big router, so it does hold good. So I'm just going to stick a little piece of MDF there that I've got scrap laying around the shop to try to do a couple first cuts here and kind of give you an idea of what this is capable of. And again, I said I'm using Easel, and it kind of steps you through everything to get going. It is a wonderful program. And you first have to set the height of the bit, and I use paper, usually a thin piece of paper to, you just go down with the Z until you can barely feel it touching there. And then I zero my Z out. And then in that Easel, you just go through a couple screens, and they tell you to, verify you got your 00 set, and they tell you to turn on the spindle, verify that, and then you just hit a button, and it just starts cutting. So I really feel if you're a beginner, and this is, the first machine you've used, this Easel is really a great way to get going. Pretty much your speeds and feeds are all determined by the bits. This does take very shallow passes. It takes a lot of passes just because of the size of the spindle motor. And you can see it really runs nice. Spindle runs nice. Everything runs nice. The only thing is I'm still getting a lot of ringing noise from that table for some reason. Once, this thing will be just about perfectly quiet once you get that worked out. And it does do a really nice job. Now this is just, my first try using the Easel program, and I've never used it before. It took me maybe 5 minutes to just copy one of their artworks or dump it on the page and then go back and cut it. And there you can see it's got your tool path that shows you and everything. And, it's a simple matter to set up and stuff. And it does do a good job. There's no dust collection on this. It doesn't really make all that much dust, but every once in a while they just hit it with a vacuum because this MDF dust can be quite abrasive on things. So that took about 25 minutes here to route that actual little pattern out in there. And like I said, this is not a speed demon. It has to take the light cuts and go slow and stuff, but I haven't calibrated it or anything, but they all seem to be very accurate. The circle is perfectly round and stuff, so it really did a nice job. And not too much fuzz on it, a little bit. Tried taking it off with the sandpaper here, but that piece was kind of old and used, so I just grabbed the little orbital sander here for a second and hit it. Trouble was I did some aluminum with it last, so I do have some gray specks in the thing. But there you can see it. That's really a great cut. That's better than my old CNC router was. So this does have some capability more than just engraving. I'm not thinking of that, but as an engraver, I'm thinking of it as just a little CNC router to get started with, and learn how everything works. And there's another pocket that I cut out. That took about 10 minutes to cut. And here's candle that comes with it. You're going to have to know something about G-code and stuff to run that. And then again, you've got the little pendant there if you want to move the table around and reset things and stuff. So now I figure, well, let's try a piece of real wood. And I'm going to put this to the test. Let's say you wanted to make something. I found some old files of mine on that old computer that I took out of the old router. They were in the actual deleted file in the trash, but I got them out. And I was able to find that bee that I made, that outdoor whirligig. And I decided to try to load that in here. I exported it as an SVG, and Easel does take SVGs in. And I brought that into Easel, and I said, okay, let's see if we can cut out a part with this. And again, you can see it. You can hear it's got a little bit of a ringing in it. That this thing will be perfect once I get rid of that. And there's a part there, all being cut. And I just wanted to show you that you can make actual parts. It's not quick, and I actually set it to leave some tabs so the parts don't fall out. You can see the thing stepping up and down in the final cuts there. But it did do a very nice job here. And actually my wife even eyed this up, and she wants to use it now to make buttons, to make custom wooden buttons for some of the knitting that she does and stuff. So I think that would be a really good idea for her too, because some of that stuff is just so little to do on the bigger machine. And there we go, back cutting the outline. And like I said, it only takes about 30,000 steps at a pass. So you do have to make many passes. But it's it does them all accurately, and it takes a little bit of time, but it's doing a really good job here. Now I'll be doing some more update videos with some different things, and I did buy some bits on Amazon also on Prime Day. I got like a whole set of these bits for, I don't know what it was, $18 or something for 40 bits. So I picked up some extra bits, so I'll have them, because there's always a chance that you mess something up and you break a bit with these little machines. I did not actually use the Wi-Fi or anything on here. Or I do not know what app to use with my phone, but I'll definitely be doing videos about that once I get some more information on that. And there it is, a depth cut, perfect. I couldn't believe that. I set it for 0.38, and that's what the wood was, and that's what I got. You can see there's some tabs in there that have to be cut, and that keeps everything from flying out on you. But otherwise, it cut pretty much, did a perfect job. And then you just I was able to just take an X-Acto knife and go back and clean these up here. And there it is. It took maybe 25 minutes and had my first part cut. And now you can make 100 of these if you wanted with no problem. So in the end, this here actually is a great little machine. I always, wondered what these little machines could actually do. And the other ones that were available were just so light duty and stuff that I never really, bought one. But then when I saw that this one was coming out, I, definitely was lucky to get on the list to get one. And it does a great job. And, this is only just the first video about it. I still have a lot to learn about it, but I just figured, there's probably people out there that have been looking at the ads and they're interested, and I figured I'd try to get this out there. And it is, everything was there. It went together great, and it is a kit. And like I said, the only thing that a little bit annoying is that ringing sound in that aluminum plate, but I'm sure that there's a way to get rid of that, so I'm not even worried about that because it works perfectly. It does a really great job. All the cuts line up perfectly, and I think it's a great way to get going. And it's not a full size machine, so don't expect it to cut fast and take deep cuts and use big bits and stuff. But it does what it's made to do really good. So I just want to, thank GearBest for giving me a chance to try this machine out, and it turned out to be much more than I actually expected. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.